creative people need to be connected to an ecosystem of resources that they can thrive in. And it's very hard to get connected to that ecosystem when you're by yourself in your bedroom. Trying to run your business, by yourself, trying to record music, by yourself. So we want to see artists come out of that place of isolation, get connected to an ecosystem that they can thrive in long term, and be healthy, be well.
We're finishing up the fourth of 4 episodes for our series all about creatives, those who've been blessed with the gifts of writing or singing or directing, and how do they live generous lives. So I know today is extra special as you meet my friend Hayley. And Hayley Montgomery Dahl is very gifted as a songwriter, sings here in San Diego, but also has a heart for other creatives and has started her own nonprofit called the Table Art Society, which you're going to learn about. So thanks for being here. Can't wait for you to hear the conversation, take us on your walk, and it's great to have you with us. Welcome to the Generous Girl podcast. Today we are talking with Hayley Montgomery Dahl. And she is our singer-songwriter, and she's wrapping up our series that we've been talking about creatives and creatives who live a generous life with their time, talents, treasures. So I think you're really going to be blessed as you hear the unique way that she has used her own talents, not only to be a very gifted songwriter, but she is sharing those gifts with other creatives and has created a nonprofit called the Table Art Society. So Hayley also is just a great gal that I want you all to get to know. She's a mom of 2 kids, married to a great husband, and she has been sharing her vocal talent on a national scale since she was 18. And she has pop rock melodies that highlight her strong voice and bright vocal color. And her instrumental arrangements also include mature guitar tones and just really deep lyrics. And so I think the combo of how she's navigated being a mom, a wife, a singer, and then now this other incredible venture, the Table Art Society, is really going to bless each of you listening today. So thanks for being here. And Hayley, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. I'm so honored. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so let's dive right in. How did you know that you had this gift to sing? How old were you? How did that get started?
I grew up singing in the church, which I'm so grateful for. My mom would help put on all the kids programs and little musical numbers on the weekends. And so I can remember, being 4 or 5 years old and singing in church. And eventually I started picking up instruments. And so I joined our junior high praise band and all those things. And so I'm super, super fortunate that I got an early start with playing music, but I didn't quite start writing my own music till near the end of high school.
Okay.
I was around 16 when I started writing my own songs. And around the time I graduated, I released some of my first music. So that's when I got my start, maybe vocationally.
And then when you went to college, did you major in singing or music or get professional?
I actually was
training?
on track to start Azusa Pacific. I was given a scholarship to start there in their worship department. And 2 weeks before I was supposed to move into the campus dorms, I met my husband. And he showed up at my door. It was a referral from a friend to drum for my album release party, and walked up. And of course, I didn't know he was my husband at the time. But sort of in a very short amount of time, 2 weeks' time, I went from being gung-ho with moving away to start seminary to, I think I'm supposed to stay in San Diego, which was a very big choice, obviously, and
Yes.
completely changed the trajectory of my life. So I stayed in San Diego and I actually started touring, and I did school online, and I started touring with my drummer, who ended up being my husband. So that's how
all
that went.
all the roads of life that we never anticipate, but we look back and go, wow, look how cool that is that led to here. And who knew? But obviously God knew at the time. So that's a very cool story. I love that. Okay, and so now here you are in San Diego, and you have created the Table Art Society. So I think it's great if we spend time unpacking that, just because I know it's local. So if you're listening and you're outside of the Southern California area right now, there's not the ability for you to join, but there are ways that people can start this Table Art Society in other parts of the country. And I think it's just so vital, because when someone is blessed with this ability to create, maybe you make beautiful pottery, maybe you're a singer like yourself, or maybe you're an artist that paints watercolor, but it can be hard to monetize your life. It can be hard to find other people like yourself that have those gifts. And I hope this podcast really encourages the listener who has these incredible gifts and helps them take the next step for how do you live a generous life with these talents that we've been entrusted with? Because I feel like your Table Art Society also really taps into generosity. And as we know, this is the Generous Girl podcast. So sometimes, we're talking about financial things like how to start a donor advised fund. Do you have a power of attorney? Do you have a will? And helping women be educated, empowered, and equipped. But this is like a different side of it. This is like, okay, so here is my shape. That's a saddleback term for my spiritual gifts, my heart, my ability, my personality, and experiences. So this is how God's made me with this unique shape. And how do I thrive in this world? And am I supposed to do this alone, or the power of community? So I would love for you to just talk about how you got started and why you founded the Table Art Society.
So 2020 was hard on a lot of people. A lot of industries were impacted by the pandemic. The creative world has been experiencing more and more change in the last 2 decades, like extremely difficult to keep up with the amount of change, whether we're talking about the digitization of consuming art, whether it's music or otherwise, or the integration of AI or outsourcing art to larger systems that bypass the individual creator. Lots of creative industries have been impacted in big ways since 2020. And so at the time, I was going through a pretty massive shift myself, growing up singing in the church and doing that vocationally. I was recording and touring and leading worship. So I was maybe working 150, 200 dates a year doing that. And in an instant, all of that stopped, which was bittersweet. I've heard the phrase holy pause for a lot of people, especially who are working inside of ministry spaces. Overnight, like everything about that lifestyle and the way that I'd interacted with my vocation as an artist changed. And I wasn't the only one. And so the origin story, the why behind the table was purely out of need. Like I have heard it said by a few mentor friends of mine, create out of your need, lead out of your place of need. Remember that you're surrounded by broken people. And as long as you're speaking to broken people, you'll always have an audience. And so the table was created out of that place for me. It's like, what do I need to be healthy and whole and to reintegrate, especially in the middle of circumstances I can't control, but then opening my eyes and just seeing the massive amount of creative people who were in crisis trying to reimagine a way forward. And so we just started gathering, and I started this group in the format of a cohort that was a year. And it was mainly a bunch of my singer friends who dabbled in other trades. Some led worship as well. And this was 2021. And since then, the Table Art Society has morphed and changed so much, but the heart of it, the why, is the same. reimagining a way forward in whatever creative industry you're in, I truly believe begins with creating in community.
Mm-hmm.
And I've really come to believe it's almost impossible to do it isolated in a silo.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now where it's very hard to find the money anymore. Like, where is the money? You asked me that question earlier in our conversation. It's getting harder and harder to find in the independent music world, or just the independent artist world. So
because of the digitization that you mentioned. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, the commercialization, the digitization of consuming art, the rapid consumption that we're all living in our culture. Instagram's like a great illustration / metaphor, but also real tangible. Think about the rate in which artists are being expected to output content where there is absolutely no monetary payback for them. So the expectation to create more has increased and the value monetarily has decreased. So that's happening in the music world, but that's happening in the visual arts world, the film, all of it.
AI.
AI integration, all of it. So when you get down to it, reimagining a way forward as a creative person, I would argue is most healthily done in a community of other creative people. And creative people need to be connected to an ecosystem of resources that they can thrive in. And it's very hard to get connected to that ecosystem when you're by yourself in your bedroom. Trying to run your business, by yourself, trying to record music, by yourself. So we want to see artists come out of that place of isolation, get connected to an ecosystem that they can thrive in long term and be healthy, be well,
And so how do you all meet? Like, what's the structure? And do you have a certain place where this happens? So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, each table is run by 2 hosts. And then up to 12 artists are invited to come and sit at that table. We have an application process. We open up once a year. And once we've had all of our applications come in and we gauge as, an organization, how many artists we can accommodate, how many we can scholarship, etc. We pair them with a host. The host picks the spot based on the demographic and where people are coming from in town. And we usually partner with someone in the community, a small business owner, a small business person. We've had churches partner and offer us space, but we get these artists meeting monthly in the community somewhere. And they meet for 3 hours, share a meal, dive into a formational topic for that month. And then everyone is released to, of course, stay in relationship, collaborate. We send out weekly email campaigns with content and prompts, creative things. And then in a month's time, they'll meet again. And each month sort of builds on itself and ends at 9 months. They do some kind of commemorative capstone project where they appeal to us for funds to do a project together. And as an organization, we set aside about 35-40% of membership dues that are paid monthly. We just save them. And so when they apply with a project idea, we give them back those funds to make something together. That is a storytelling thing that allows the community to interact with these artists and what's going on in them. But those projects also embody what the table embodies, which is belonging, generosity, growth, all the things.
Very, very cool. What's an example of one of the groups and what they have created?
Yeah. The first year we made an album because it was all artists, music artists. So that was some low-hanging fruit. We partnered with a ton of people in our city, shared resources, in-kind donations, and that album was made possible. It was incredible. We're actually in the middle right now of rolling that one out, and it's been over 2 years. So we're very excited.
It was a long time coming,
but it's coming out. There are, I think, 4 songs out now that you can go listen to wherever you listen to music. But that whole album will be made available on our website when it's all released as well. And so you can go and listen to it there. So that's an example. In more recent years, there are cohorts that did like a creative retreat where everybody brought their physical art medium and for a very concentrated amount of time just made a bunch of things together.
Right.
There was like a tattoo artist involved who like tattooed for people. There was, you know, poets and writers and songwriters and a mixologist, like someone made drinks, like just really everybody bringing what they had and had like a hyper creative time. Another example is there's a group that met in Temecula last round of cohorts, and there was a ton of authors and visual artists and photographers. And so they came together to design a coffee table book that really unpacks like the values that they experienced at the table, but through visual illustration and short stories and poems. And so that's going to be this beautiful published book that they do. So the project can be anything that looks like the people sitting at the table. And somehow it's going to reflect the transformation that they've experienced and what they're embodying now as creative people.
That's so beautiful. So talk a little bit about, because we touched on this in our pre-conversation, but let's talk about the power of community and how you've seen some of these lives change and how you feel like it's really tough for an artist to not have community. Like they're not meant to just create in a silo. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, because I'm often encouraging people on the podcast, wherever you are across the country, if you don't have that circle of friends, and in your situation, it's also what you're doing for your career and that you're all creatives, but join a small group at your local church and get people that can be a sounding board, be there for you and encourage you in whatever it is, you know, that you're doing and God's called you to do.
Yeah. I love talking to you in particular about this, Kim, because you are heart of my own heart in that you are a connector. And I mean, truly, everyone, I just want to be Kim when I grow up. In this regard. Like,
so
oh my goodness. But in doing the table, I've realized not everyone functions that way. Like not everyone is walking around constantly going like,
you need
who
to
do
meet
I
her.
know?
Right.
You need to meet her, them, or like what do I have in this like swirl of connections that might be a resource to you? I say that to just highlight like the importance and the beauty of acknowledging that you are one small part of something larger that's at play. And that can be a real faith-filled statement, regardless of your background, though, with the church. Like, though there's some pain in acknowledging that, I am small on my own. But what if I am a small part of something larger? And what if when I connect my small part to this larger, more beautiful thing, I'm more alive and I'm more joy-filled than I was over here on my own?
Sure.
There is a lot of vulnerability that comes with making art. And so there are tons of reasons to stay in a closet. There are tons of reasons to stay hidden. There are lots. There will always.
Because you're really expressing yourself, and you think your art might be beautiful, but someone else might just immediately just not love it.
Yes.
And that's you.
Like, yes, you are at high risk for rejection. And so I think that initial step is the hardest. But what I keep seeing over and over with artists, I see this in my own creative practice too. When a song eventually comes out, even if it's half-baked, it's not even done, but it comes out and someone else is finally able to interact with it. There are thought leaders inside the art world, the spiritual art world, who say things like art isn't really art until it meets another human soul. Because the act of making art is so tethered to sharing the created thing and interacting with the response with like another human soul. That's what really constitutes it being a work of art, is it's relational. Yeah. which
Mm-hmm.
which I think is something interesting to consider, especially in the AI conversation, where
Mm-hmm.
on a very large scale, we're asking what is art and what's not art. But all that being said, there it is again, community. Like, it isn't really optional. Like, we have to draw out the vulnerable created thing into a place where we're expressing it to other people and we're allowing them to interact with it in order for the artist to like fully experience the act of making and creating. Sharing is included in there. And I mean, you asked the question specifically, like, why is it important for artists to come out of the silo? I think I might have alluded to this at the beginning of our conversation, but reimagining a way forward has become such a instrumental phrase for me. How do I reimagine a way forward? Whether that's been a prayer like, God, how do I reimagine a way forward? Or I'm looking at like the numbers on paper. There's no money in making music anymore. Like, how do I reimagine a way forward? I spent so many years just being stuck, like staring at the page. And the moment that I invited people into that conversation with me, without even trying, there was movement. I was no longer stuck. And so that's sort of my embedded encouragement to whoever's listening is we're definitely meant to reimagine a way forward with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been one of the most healing things that I think has come from the table is God has used it to rekindle a sense of hope and possibility, fleshing that stuff out in a community and coming to terms in the most beautiful way that I'm just a small part of something larger.
That's so beautiful. And it also makes me think of here in San Diego. I mean, I don't know if it just attracts a lot of creative people because it's beautiful, itself. And so people are inspired to paint and do all kinds of things. But there are two other nonprofits that I'm aware of, and I know you are as well. The one being Third Chair that meets once a month in a backyard here. And it's for the similar reason, but at a larger scale once a month with a beautiful meal and then spotlighting an artist or two. And you're connecting with new friends and new people. Probably 50 people are there each time. But just giving those artists a chance to share why they created what they did and let other people into that world, I think is really beautiful. Yeah. And then the newer nonprofit, Abiding Presence, right?
Practice, abiding practice, yeah.
Abiding Practice with David Russo. And, also another piece of not the same coin, but having artists and putting it on YouTube and gathering people at the La Paloma Theater in San Diego and providing this place for people to showcase their art. So it's just a whole space. And I think a lot of times, you'll walk by like the Sawdust Art Festival and there are all the paintings, but all the work that was taken, to get to that point, or how the person was paying their bills by making other art or selling these paintings. Yep. And yet I mentioned to you, there's a gal, Kathy Heller, who I went through her mastermind, and, her podcast was Don't Keep Your Day Job. And meaning if you're made to create, then create and figure out a way, whether it's online or a program, that you are able to pay your bills so that you don't have to go into a field that's just life sucking for you, but you're made this way. And so trusting that God is going to provide a path to pay the bills and allow you to flourish and be all you were made to be. So it's great to hear that, your nonprofit is underway and just getting better each year. And then I know one person, that you're connected with is a business person, Martin, who will do a shout out for Martin. And, just how he's so great. And just his ability he's got totally different skills than you do. And he is, the master at running business and creating a business, scaling it. So he's come alongside you and helped you put the deck together, the investor deck, the pitch deck that you can use. So that's also beautiful to watch how God brings the different relationships together to help you thrive, help him thrive, and ultimately your nonprofit thrive as well.
Yeah. That comment makes me want to highlight the importance of the word ecosystem. It's actually embedded in our mission statement. We exist to create and connect artists to an ecosystem they can thrive in. Why is ecosystem so significant? I've had people say, like, that word doesn't make sense to me. What is that? You know, ecosystems are the most healthy expression of like biology in motion, where stuff is growing, it's regenerative, it's many parts working together symbiotically to like continue. And the word resilience has been coming up a lot in my relationship with Martin as his own creative person is working on a book called The Resilience Project. And resilience, I think, is a byproduct. It's like what flows out of a healthy ecosystem. Life can continue in the face of adversity, in the face of drought, circumstantial things, change. And we really want that for not just the artists, but patrons, their relationship to art, and community partners at large, whether that be another nonprofit or a financial institution or a church. Like, all of these things in the ecosystem need one another to be the most healthy version of what they are. And so I'm excited in the next upcoming years, maybe the next 2 years, I really see my focus as the executive or the founder moving toward the question, how can we create a larger, more robust ecosystem that we can funnel and send all of these artists into, whether that's building bridges to connect them to financial resources or education that they need for sustainability, or connecting them to a church if they are looking for that or haven't been connected to the church, or getting them in touch with a local coffee shop that wants live music or is looking for a mural. Like, it's an ecosystem, and we really do need each other. So I'm excited to keep building that. My connector heart is excited to keep building that and seeing the many parts thrive, not just the artist, but the many parts thrive.
Oh, I so resonate with that. I spent 6 years working at Gloo, GLOO, in Boulder, and that was the word we used every day, the ecosystem, this whole Christian world of all the different partners that had a variety of tasks and responsibilities that they were focused on. And now I really work in the generosity ecosystem, and that includes these incredible partners like financial planning partners and NCF, our sponsor, where if you need a donor advised fund, a charitable checking account, and you want to grant your funds, you're using that. If you want to then take those funds and invest them in a for-profit company, then we have Impact Foundation. And then we have Women Doing Well, helping a woman figure out her purpose, her passions, and her plan for generosity. And we've got Faith Driven Investor, and all of these partners are really better together. Like, each one has a lane in what they're doing, but it's so fun when I meet people who have this heart for generosity, but they didn't even know that these players in this space existed. And I just always like to encourage them to say, like, start with one and just learn about one. And when you've figured that one out, then move to another one. But so many of those they exist for free. They're nonprofits, and they're there to really pour into the individuals to help them live a more generous life. But many people don't know, or they don't understand that they're even out there. So, and I agree with you. Like, even one of our NCF offices in Indiana, they hold an event every year in a big hotel ballroom, and it's called Better Together. And they're gathering all those women together, and there's power. There's power in those women being together, new ideas, new relationships, friendships, and then just catalyzing them to be the best version and to create and use their skills in their workplace, in their home, and be the best version that God made them to be. And so I think with tech also, we're able to connect in ways that, never ever happened before, which is amazing when you're trying to use it for something like we're talking about for the good, but then obviously the bad and the terrible things that can happen with tech and that instant connection with anti-trafficking and just all the terrible things is always, it's out there as well. But for the good, I think there's power in just this, you can connect around the world in a nanosecond, and that never used to exist.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, anything else you want to say to encourage the listener if they're thinking about maybe even quitting their day job to become some form of an artist or looking for community? How can they find you? Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah. My encouragement would be just keep going. Like know that you're not alone, and take some step to be in communion with other people. And in this context, other creative people, especially if you are a creative and you burn to make things, make beautiful things, speak to goodness, truth, beauty in the world. If you're listening and that's you, take one step to create to other creative people around you. And if you really don't know what your options are, reach out to us. We're happy to use whatever we have, whoever we know, to connect you and to see you get resourced. We are still based in San Diego exclusively, but we are prayerfully considering scaling what we do as we find more funding and build more of these partnerships and relationships with donors and community partners. We want to see there be tables in major cities across the United States. And so if you're listening to this and you are feeling like, wow, I have a big room over here, or I work at a coffee shop that's got great space, I'd love to run a table. We also would love to hear from you. We are currently talking to a handful of people who live out of state who have vision for this too, and have it inside them to be generous with other creative people. And so if that's you, we also want to talk to you. And of course, we're always looking to build relationships with people who just really believe that art in the world matters. And if that's you, if you consider yourself a lover of art, a patron of the arts, you have artists in your life that you want to see thrive, we would also love to talk to you about the work we're doing and be in a relationship with you. So yeah, that's the encouragement. Those are some invitations. Keep going. Just hear me. Keep going.
But
you're not the only one.
The other.
One foot in front of the other.
Yes.
Keep painting, keep singing, keep writing, whatever your medium is, just keep going. It really does matter. It really does matter. Just take 5 seconds to imagine the world without art in it. It's beyond dark. So you matter. The things that are inside of you to make matter.
And what's your website?
The website for the table is thetableartsociety.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not to be confused with the table with Impact Foundation, which is a totally different table, which we do cohorts every January and then in the fall, where it's like a giving circle and people can invest their money from their donor advised fund collectively. And then we choose, okay, how do we want to invest this? A little bit like a Shark Tank, learning the terms about impact investing. So we also call that the table. Hayley's is the Table Art Society. So, yes. Well, I think you're a perfect guest to wrap up this series on creatives. We did our 4-part series on impact investing prior to the creatives, where we had our author and we had our Hollywood director, CEO of a marketing agency, and now a singer-songwriter. And it's just great. I love to just kind of look at and hear all the different facets of how people are called to do what they're called to do, and they are just living so generously with their time, talents, and treasures. And it takes a village for it all to go forward. But everyone is so blessed by being a part of it. And maybe you're called to be a financial supporter of the Table Art Society, or maybe you live here locally and you'd love to join. Either way, like Hayley said, we just encourage you to take that next step, whatever that may be. So as we wrap up then, Hayley, I always like to ask a current book you're reading, favorite Bible verse, and a recent bargain for you to share.
Yes. So a favorite book that I'm slowly reading through is called My Bride Abyss by Christian Winman, I believe is his name. My Bride Abyss. It is broody and theological and poetic and artsy, and I can only read a paragraph at a time because it just levels me and puts me back. So that's my book. Bible verse. It's one of my life verses. It's the first one I remember learning as a kid. It's been coming up a lot lately, as I think I'm in a season of high risk, high vulnerability, a lot of giving. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given me a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. The whole chapter is really wonderful, but that's the verse I'll leave with you.
Oh.
And then bargain. Girl, I'm just really into my local Goodwill.
Okay.
We've got a great one here in La Mesa, San Diego, and I just consider myself a patron of that establishment. They've got great kids' clothes. I have found some great pants in my postpartum era. Great muumuus, which I'm wearing right now, this number. So your local Goodwill, that's where I'm at these days.
That's great. And, you can shop Goodwill online, too. So if you have a brand you're looking for, you don't even have to drive.
I actually have never done that.
And it can arrive at your house. So
that's kind of the next level.
I've never
bought anything from Goodwill online.
Well, such a treat having you, Hayley. Thank you for sharing your beautiful story and especially, just in the pandemic where everything felt like the rug was ripped out from under creatives, and how you saw that your own mess became your message of you needed community, so you wanted to help create it for others, as often happens in all of our lives. And we see a need and then we're able to respond. So thank you again. God bless you, and God bless the next Table Art Society and the lives that will be changed, and wonderful the art that will come out of those groups. So thanks again. It's great having you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. So honored. Bye.
Thanks so much for joining us today on the Generous Girl podcast. We're so glad that you're here. And if you know of someone that you think needs to be a guest on this podcast, please reach out to us. New episodes are released every other week, and you can follow us on YouTube and on all platforms. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you next time.